now we are ready to go into town and party. Vampire style.
One of the most prominent New Zealand horror comedies is Taika Waititi's and Jermaine Clement's 2014 mockumentary, What We Do in the Shadows, which depicts the life of a group of vampires living together in Wellington. The typical portrayal of New Zealand is that of a country on the edge of the world, and it has a reputation as a place where not much is happening, being separated from the rest of the globe. This makes it bizarre to see vampires traditionally associated with Gothic castles living in New Zealand, especially in an urban area like Wellington. It heavily contradicts the historical European and romantic Hollywood depictions of vampires.
Vampires have had a pretty bad rap. We're not these mopey old creatures who live in castles, and well, most of us are, a lot are, but there are also those of us who like to flat together in really small countries like New Zealand.
The film pokes fun at the way that New Zealand was advertised to encourage Europeans to immigrate, and the vampires can be seen as representations of European settlers arriving in New Zealand and having to adjust to the new place.
Yeah, because there's no castles anywhere in New Zealand. So it's like, they would have got there. I imagine that they, because in the 1800s, people, like New Zealand was advertised as like this great new destination, or, the land of milk and honey and stuff. And they, and people went down there, and it was like the piano. It was just muddy, and like there was nothing there, and it was really boring. And people were just, it looked like a piano. And people were really depressed. And and if you're a vampire and you think, oh man, this is it forever.
Yeah. I was going to buy a castle.
A lot of disappointment. Yeah, no castle, can't build a castle.
We think of them though as being chased right across the world, further and further south, until New Zealand's basically the last place they can go.
Unlike many other Gothic depictions of vampires, they are simply regular people who happen to be immortal beings that feast on human blood. The portrayal of everyday life through the lens of mythical creatures like vampires and werewolves heightens the social commentary of the film, portraying that even these undead creatures share many of the same specific New Zealand experiences as everyday Kiwis. New Zealand horror comedy grew and populated with the early works of Peter Jackson, with films like Brain Dead and Bad Taste. His last horror comedy, The Frighteners, was his first Hollywood production in 1996. The cast is made up of famous Hollywood stars, and despite being shot in Wellington, is set in small-town America. The Frighteners still maintains its New Zealand roots through the film's humor. Peter Jackson does this through dark humor and a combination of the splatter horror genre and slapstick comedy.
You are such an ass. Yes, I am. I'm an asshole.
With the dominance of Hollywood films, the use of specific New Zealand themes and iconography appeals to Kiwi audiences. The streets of Wellington are clearly recognizable all throughout What We Do in the Shadows, and audiences can clearly connect with the vampires' experiences going out to town. Other films, such as Black Sheep, uses the spectacle of zombie sheep for humor that is specific to New Zealand audiences. In a country where sheep outnumber humans, the ridiculous visuals of a wild flesh-eating flock taps into a camp sense of humor.
Are you okay? If it weren't for my gumboot.
Who's driving?
Jump! Jump off! Now! Jump off!
The use of dark camp humor in these horror comedies creates films that are uniquely New Zealand. The mixing of horror and comedy genres is popular with audiences, as they're able to see real aspects of their lives represented on screen, even through the mythical world of horror.